Hi, second graders. This week you are learning about frogs, so I thought I would read a story called Frogs and Toads to you. I'm wondering, what kind of prior knowledge do you have on frogs and toads? Remember, prior knowledge are things that you already know. And then we're going to read the book, and at the end I want you to think about what is something you learned about frogs or something you learned about toads. All right, here we go. Frogs and Toads, written by Kira Freed. Here is the table of contents. Remember, the table of contents is how the author organizes the book. They broke it into different sections like I Found a Frog, Life Cycle, About Frogs, Defense, Frogs Are Cool, and the Glossary. Oops, skipped too far ahead there. I Found a Frog. Have you ever seen an unusual animal in nature? Did you want to learn more about it? Last week, I saw a really neat frog, and that was the start of a wonderful adventure. What does a frog say when it sees something great? Totally awesome! It says, I took this picture of the frog I saw. Have you ever seen a frog? The Goliath Frog is the largest frog in the world. Wow, that's a huge frog there. I looked for the frog in a book called A Field Guide. I started looking through the pictures in the book. I was amazed to see all the different kinds of frogs and toads. It turns out I saw a wood frog. Did you know there are almost 5,000 kinds of frogs and toads? Wow, I didn't know that. That's a lot of different kinds of frogs and toads. The biggest one is as big as a dinner plate. Wow. One of the smallest is the Brazilian gold frog. Its real size is shown here. Wow, so the tiniest frog is like that small little dot there. That's a tiny frog. I wanted to know more, so I went to the internet. Did you know that frogs and toads are relatives of newts and salamanders? They're all amphibians, which means they live part of their life in water and part on land. Amphibians are cold-blooded animals. They don't make their own body heat. They get warmth from the heat of the sun. So it has a frog, toad, newt, and salamander. They're all part of a group of animals called amphibians. That's interesting. Egg stage, tadpole stage. So life cycle. What is this called again? You're right, the heading. The author organized the book into different sections and it has headings to break those sections apart. I also learned that most frogs and toads lay jelly-covered eggs in water. The babies that hatch are called tadpoles that look like little fish. Tadpoles breathe with gills, just like fish, and they live in water. But it's amazing what happens as they grow. Their gills disappear and they grow long so they can breathe air like other land animals. They grow legs and then arms. Later their tail shrinks. By the time their tail is gone, they move on to land. I saw some very cool photos of the life cycle of frogs. So they start off as eggs, then they grow into a tadpole, and then they metamorph, and then they turn into a frog, and then the frog then then lays eggs too, and the life cycle continues. About frogs. Frogs are famous for their ability to leap with their long, strong back legs. They leap to catch insects and other prey. A frog can catch an insect in an instant with its long, sticky tongue. Why are frogs so good at baseball? Because they catch a lot of flies. That's funny. The eyes and nostrils of a frog are on the top of its head. Frogs can see, smell, and breathe while they're mostly underwater. In fact, they breathe through their skin while they're underwater. I did not know that fact. Frogs can breathe through their skin while they're underwater. That's another interesting fact that I learned. Frogs can make an amazing amount of noise. Male frogs sing loudly to attract a mate. Did you know male frogs use throat pouches to sing? Some male frogs have one throat pouch and others have two. What has more lives than a cat? A frog. It croaks every night. That's funny. Did you know the difference between frogs and toads? Here's what I learned from a book at the library. Ooh, I like this chart that the author included to help us understand the difference between a frog and a toad. So let's look at the difference. They're comparing and contrasting frogs and toads. Frogs have smooth or slimy skin, while toads have dry, bumpy skin. Frogs live in wet places. Toads live in dry places. Frogs have long, strong back legs for leaping. Toads have short back legs for walking. Frogs have webbed feet. Toads do not have webbed feet. Frogs lay eggs in groups, and toads lay eggs in long chains. Wow, there's a lot of differences between frogs and toads, even though they kind of look a lot alike. This frog wasn't able to escape. Defense. I was sad to learn that frogs and toads are good food for many other animals. Bats, snakes, birds, and rodents all hunt them. But frogs and toads have clever ways to stay safe from animals that might try to eat them. What happens when frogs park illegally? They get towed away. Another good joke there. Some frogs and toads, like the wood frog I saw, are the same color as their habitat. This is called blending in. It allows them to hide better from predators. Some kinds of frogs are so poisonous that just touching their skin is deadly. These frogs are brightly colored to warn predators to stay away. Did you know one golden poison frog contains enough poison to kill 10 people or 200,000 mice? This frog is one of the most poisonous animals on Earth. The golden poison frog lives in South American rainforests. Wow. Some frogs try to trick predators that might want to eat them. The tomato frog puffs up like a balloon when the snake gets near. The snake thinks the frog is too big to eat. If the snake tries to eat it anyway, the frog leaks a liquid like glue from its skin. The tomato frog lives on an island off the coast of Africa. Yeah, so those frogs don't live in North America where we live. Why are frogs so happy? They eat whatever bugs them. That's funny too. Tree frogs have sticky pads on their fingers and toes to help them grip. Frogs are cool. Frogs and toads come in many shapes, sizes, and colors. You can find them in trees, in or near water, and on the ground. One thing is true about all of them. They are amazing animals. What kind of frogs have you seen? And then here is the glossary. The glossary kind of tells us definitions of words and then what they mean. So if you find a frog, if you happen to find a frog, maybe you live by a pond where you see a lot of frogs, see if you can catch that frog. Or maybe take a picture of it and upload it to Seesaw for all of your friends to see. That would be fun. All right, enjoy the day. Thanks for listening to the Read Aloud Frogs and Toads.